All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a topic you hear about everywhere, artificial intelligence. And look, this isn't science fiction anymore, right? It's the invisible engine already running in the background of our lives. From what shows up on your streaming feed to major breakthroughs in medicine. It is literally reshaping our world in ways we're just starting to wrap our heads around. So let's get into it.
Just think about this for a second. Have you ever gotten that text from your bank about a weird charge, maybe from a city you've never even been to, and it happens just moments after the transaction? How in the world does that work? Well, that's AI in action. It's this system constantly churning through millions, even billions of transactions, learning what your personal spending DNA looks like. And the second something doesn't fit that pattern, bam, it flags it. It's like this powerful, invisible guardian for your money. And honestly, it's the perfect way to kick things off.
Okay, so what is AI, really? If we strip away all the buzzwords and the hype, what are we actually talking about? At its core, it's a field of computer science with a goal that is, well, it's incredibly ambitious. The whole point is to build machines that can think, that can reason, and that can learn, pretty much just like we do. It's all about creating intelligence, but, artificially.
So the first thing to get is that AI isn't just one single thing. It's better to think of it as this huge umbrella. And under that umbrella, you've got this whole universe of different technologies. But what they all have in common is that they're designed to simulate human-like thinking. That could be anything from something as simple as solving a puzzle to something as complex as making a medical diagnosis or even learning a brand new skill completely from scratch.
Okay, so if AI is the big umbrella, let's peek underneath it. The first major thing you're going to find is machine learning, or ML for short. Now, this is really the engine that powers most of the AI we interact with every single day. The key difference here is instead of writing code for every single possible scenario, we do something different. We just feed the machine data, and I mean tons of data, and we let it figure out the patterns for itself. It's learning from experience, not just from rigid, pre-written instructions.
And if we go even one level deeper than machine learning, we get to something called deep learning. Now, this is the real cutting-edge stuff. It works using something called neural networks, and the idea is that they're loosely modeled on how our own brains work. Just imagine these layers upon layers of virtual neurons. Each one grabs a little piece of information, processes it, and then passes its conclusion to the next layer. And by doing this over and over, the system can find these incredibly subtle, complex patterns in massive, massive data sets. This is the magic behind things like those AI-generated images that look totally real, or AIs that can spot diseases in medical scans.
All right, so we've kind of defined the what, AI, machine learning, deep learning. But now let's get into the how. How does a machine actually go from just following a set of instructions to developing something that almost feels intuitive? Well, it's been a long journey, one that's taken decades to unfold.
The road to the AI we have today was anything but a straight shot. It really started back in the 50s with these huge philosophical questions. But for a long time, progress was slow. There were these periods called AI winters, where the promises and the hype just got way ahead of what the technology could actually do, and funding dried up. But then everything changed in the 2010s. It was like this perfect storm. We suddenly had access to unimaginable amounts of data and the computing power to process it. That combination is what ignited the deep learning revolution and led directly to the generative AI tools that are, they're everywhere now.
So, how do these machines actually learn? Well, there are a few main ways. First up, you've got supervised learning. The best way to think about this is like you're teaching a toddler with flashcards. You show the AI a picture of a cat and you say, "This is a cat." You show it a dog and say, "This is a dog." You do that thousands, maybe millions of times, and eventually it learns to tell the difference on its own. It's learning with an answer key. Then, on the other hand, you have unsupervised learning. This is totally different. Here, you just give the AI a giant unorganized pile of photos and basically say, "Go figure it out, find the patterns." The AI might start grouping all the cat pictures together and all the dog pictures together without ever being explicitly told what a cat or dog even is. It's discovering the structure all by itself.
And then there's a third way, called reinforcement learning. And this one is all about trial and error. Seriously, it's just like training a puppy. When the AI does something you want, you give it a virtual treat, a reward. When it does something wrong, it gets a penalty. And the AI's only goal is to get as many treats as possible. So over millions and millions of tries, whether it's learning to play a complex video game or figuring out how to control a robotic arm, it just keeps adjusting its strategy to maximize those rewards. It is literally learning from its own mistakes over and over and over again.
Okay, so we've got these different ways an AI can learn, with a teacher, on its own, or through trial and error. But what does any of this actually look like in the real world? Where does the rubber meet the road? Well, to see just how big the impact is, we really don't have to look any further than our own wallets. So let's dive into how AI is completely shaking up the world of finance.
And the impact here is absolutely massive. It touches pretty much every single part of a bank's operations. Behind the scenes, you have AI automating all that tedious data entry, which cuts down on errors. For us, the customers, it means we can get 24/7 help from a chatbot instead of waiting on hold. But maybe the most important stuff is in risk management. That's the fraud detection we talked about earlier, and also in things like credit assessments. AI can analyze way more data to create a much fairer, more accurate picture of someone's financial health, which could mean getting a loan for someone who might have been unfairly denied before.
But here's the thing. Weaving AI this deeply into something as critical as our financial system, well, it doesn't come without risks. The very same technology that creates all this efficiency and opportunity also opens the door to brand new system-wide vulnerabilities that we really need to be paying attention to.
And one of the biggest risks is something called concentration. Get this, over half of all private investment in AI startups has gone to just 4 companies. 4! So what does that mean? It means a huge chunk of the financial industry could end up using the exact same AI models from the exact same handful of providers. So what happens if one of those core models has a hidden bug or a major flaw? The ripple effect across the entire system could be devastating. You're essentially creating a single point of failure for a huge piece of the global economy.
And that concentration risk, that really brings us to the bigger picture here. When we talk about AI, we're always talking about a two-sided coin. For every incredible, mind-blowing promise it offers, there's a potential peril on the other side that we have to navigate very carefully.
Let's start with the bright side, the promise. And the potential here is genuinely transformative. We're talking about automating the boring, repetitive stuff so that humans can focus on being creative and innovative. We're talking about supercharging our own decision-making with incredible data insights. And we're talking about speeding up breakthroughs in science and medicine in ways we could have only dreamed of just a decade ago. The upside, from personalized learning to safer surgeries, is just immense.
But for every one of those promises, there is a peril. For example, algorithmic bias. If you train an AI on historical data that contains human biases, and let's be honest, most of it does, the AI will learn and can even amplify those biases. Then there's what people call the black box problem. Some of these AI models are so incredibly complex that even the people who built them can't fully explain how they arrived at a specific answer. And you can toss in huge worries about data privacy and new kinds of cyber risks, and you've got a whole list of really profound challenges we have to figure out.
So figuring out how to navigate this balance between promise and peril, that's really one of the biggest challenges of our generation. So with that in mind, where is all of this technology headed? What's just over the horizon? And what are the huge questions we need to be asking ourselves right now?
Okay, this is a really important point. Every single AI system that exists today, every single one, is what we call narrow AI. That means it's incredibly good at one specific task. It might be a world champion at chess, but you can't ask it to write you a poem. It just can't. The holy grail, the long-term, maybe never going to happen goal, is something called artificial general intelligence, or AGI. That would be an AI with the kind of flexible, adaptable, common-sense intelligence that we humans have. Now, to be clear, we are nowhere close to this. It's still pretty much science fiction. But it's the North Star that's guiding all the research in the field.
And that really brings us to the most important point of all. As this technology gets more and more powerful, the biggest hurdles we face aren't going to be technical ones. They're going to be human ones. The challenge isn't just, can we build smarter machines? It's, can we make sure those machines are used to build a better, fairer world that actually serves humanity's best interests?
So, at the end of the day, here's the question we're all left to wrestle with. AI is basically a mirror. It learns from the data we give it, from all of our history, our writing, our art, our decisions. And as we build these incredibly powerful new collaborators, we have to make a choice. What do we want that mirror to reflect back at us? Do we want it to show us our biases, our blind spots, our worst instincts? Or do we want it to reflect the very best of us, our creativity, our compassion, our ingenuity? That choice is up to us.